This video is brought to you by my supporters on Patreon. Guys, and I'm here with another welcome to cosplay video. It's about cosplay time management, and it's also going to be more of a bit of a discussion because I don't know how to make all of these into tips necessarily. It's more just explaining how I am able to make as many costumes as I do. And just to say straight off, the most important thing, despite all of these tips, is to make sure that you are taking care of all of your adult things first. Also, a lot of these tips are probably going to be found silly for some people who are like, I hate when people take cosplay so seriously. If you are that type of person, then this video isn't for you. This video is probably for people who want to get more involved in any sort of career aspects that it might have to offer, or people who are just super duper passionate about it. This also might help people who are interested in cosplaying but they don't have any time. So first, I'm going to explain a bit about my situation. I've had that busy, hectic schedule where it seemed like there was never any time. I am also someone who doesn't always sleep a lot and always had a messed up time schedule, and that wasn't due to cosplay. Cosplay didn't cause that. I'm just someone who has always struggled with insomnia, so a lot of the times I would have days where I wouldn't sleep at all. For a couple days in a row, I had days where I would sleep maybe 4 hours or 2 hours, so I had a lot of time when I was awake. Don't do this to yourself on purpose. If you are someone who has a normal sleeping schedule, keep your normal sleeping schedule. I was just someone who already started out having a all sort of messed up sleeping schedule. It's like, instead of sitting there twiddling my thumbs staring at my wall for 4 hours while I can't sleep, I decided, well, I'm just going to work on costumes instead. I am also someone who was very fast at things overall and found school very easy and not challenging. This included like high school and college and stuff, so if you are someone like that, take advantage of it. For example, there are people who have to study hours and hours and hours for tests, and they spend a lot of time doing it, and props to you guys, and if that's what you need to do, then do it. I was someone who could study for like an hour or less the day before, and or maybe a little bit in the morning before the test, and would pass with no problem. So that kind of gave me an advantage of having to spend less time in one adult responsibility aspect of life, giving me more free time to goof off and do whatever I want. Currently, I have a job, so I'm balancing all of that with cosplay, and I do consider cosplay part of my job. I know it's not a job where I'm making like a whole bunch of money and it's like a sustaining my life kind of job, but I do make some money off of it, and I like to consider it like a job so that I don't slack on my Patreon, because I don't want to do that. So I do take cosplay a lot more seriously than some others may, and you might find that a bit ridiculous or not, but because I do get paid and I do get invited to conventions, I like to treat it like a job and set aside time and make sure I'm doing good work. So that is my outlook on it. Keep in mind, through all of this, I enjoy it as well. I am happy making costumes, and I really love it, and I love spending my time doing that. If at any point costume making starts to feel like a chore or makes you unhappy, then these tips or that kind of like more serious mentality probably isn't for you, and you shouldn't do it, because it should be something you feel happy doing. So I'm going to move on to a bit of my tips, and my first tip is to use free time. You'll always hear cosplayers joke about how I spend more time making the costumes than I do playing the games that they're from, and that is very true. That is something, if you want to cosplay, you kind of have to sacrifice some game time or watch the dubbed versions of animes instead of the subs, unless you can understand the language, so that it doesn't matter. But if you can't understand Japanese, start watching the dubbed version so you can listen to it in the background, understand what's going on, and work on your costumes at the same time. I don't know how it is for everyone, but typically if you're in school, like high school or something, or you have a job or something, you have at least some sort of day off from it. Usually people have like the weekends off, so I typically would take the day that I had off and make costumes that entire day. I guess this gets into another discussion part because a lot of people like to hang out with their friends and they want to socialize. For me, something that helped is that all my friends were a bunch of PC gamers anyways, so we were always in a Skype call. So if I wanted to hang out with them, I would just hop in the call and I'd craft while talking to everyone and chat, and like everyone else in that chat wasn't playing the same game half the time anyways. Like they were all in doing whatever they were doing. Some of them were even watching Netflix, but we would all still be in that chat. Another thing that works is if you have friends who are cosplayers, and then you can all have one big crafting party together, because those are the most fun. And if your friends aren't into cosplay, you should get them into cosplay. If you have a very hectic schedule and you have almost no time, come to terms with the fact that you might just have to work slower on costumes. Take the little bit of time you do have and work on it very slowly over time. You'll eventually get a costume done, and then you'll be like, hey, you know, that wasn't too bad. Now I have this awesome costume to wear. With practice, you will get faster, and that will help you make costumes faster without sacrificing any sort of quality. Making a schedule. I like planners and I like scheduling, and this helps just keep your entire life organized and allows you to figure out and better manage your time. Something that I did when you're in college, you can typically pick your classes. So I would typically choose to have all of my classes on as few of days as possible, so I'd have them all at the beginning of the week, then I would have the rest of the week and the weekend completely free. When you're in college, you typically have the chance to schedule your classes however you like. What I found was taking up some of my time is that my classes would typically have a big gap in between them, but not a big enough gap where I could leave the campus and go home, especially since I didn't live in the town. So if you can schedule your classes just back to back to back, all that waiting around time is now at the end of the day. Paying attention to little things like that and better organizing your schedule can give you more free time than you thought you had. Picking simple costumes help a lot too. If you don't have a lot of time and you have a deadline coming up, don't pick a really big costume. So if you have a convention you want to wear a cosplay to coming up, picking a more simple costume gives you like less needed time to make it. Commission and buy what you can. This helped me a lot. Earlier on in my costumes, I bought what I could, whether it was buying a full cosplay or just buying some base pieces that I could then alter and modify. Instead of having to sew everything from scratch from the start, buying a bodysuit and building on top of it definitely cut down a lot of the time that was needed to make that. One of the last tips, this is mostly for students. If you are someone who they don't want to, like, there's no time to work on costumes during their classes and they need to really focus on their schoolwork, wait till you have like winter break or spring break or something like that and look forward to that, because then you're like, oh, then I can spend time making costumes, or wait till summer break or something. So yeah, that is just some of my tips and just an overall look at my situation. The way I'm able to just craft all the time, make all these costumes is just really, it's because it's what I like doing. It's what I've always liked spending my free time doing. I hope that at least some of that was kind of helpful to you, and if it didn't, I'm sorry. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a lovely day.